The scream tore through the quiet morning air like a sudden storm breaking over calm waters. Aaron Cole dropped the wrench in his oil-stained hand and turned sharply toward the sound. There by the edge of the small town's park stood a little girl, barefoot, trembling, her pale yellow dress smudged with dirt. She couldn't have been more than 6. Her hair, the color of autumn wheat, hung in tangled strands, and her tear-filled eyes darted in confusion as if she had just woken from a nightmare and found herself in the wrong world. Aaron's heart clenched instantly. It had been years since he'd seen a child cry like that, not since his own daughter Maggie, who he lost to pneumonia when she was just 5. Time had dulled the pain but never erased it. He walked slowly toward the girl, raising his hands so as not to startle her. "Hey, sweetheart," he said softly, kneeling beside her. "You okay? Where's your mom or dad?" She only shook her head, whispering something he couldn't catch. Her small fingers clutched a torn stuffed bunny, its ear hanging by a single thread. Aaron looked around the park. It was nearly empty except for a few joggers in the distance. He took a deep breath, stood up, and gently reached for her hand. That moment, that quiet, fragile instant, would change both of their lives forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of doing good even when no one's watching, take a second to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps more people see stories that remind us how much good still exists in this world. Aaron led the little girl back to his old blue pickup parked near the playground. He handed her a bottle of water and a granola bar from the glove box. "What's your name, kiddo?" he asked. After a long pause, her voice came out like a whisper carried on the wind. "Clara." "Okay, Clara," he smiled gently. "I'm Aaron." "Don't worry, we'll figure this out." He called the local sheriff's office, explaining that he'd found a lost child. They said they'd send someone out, but an hour passed and no one came. So Aaron decided to bring her home, just for the afternoon, until someone showed up. His home wasn't much to look at, a small, 2-bedroom cottage on the edge of town, filled with the scent of coffee, old books, and motor oil. He lived a quiet life, fixing cars, paying bills late, and trying to fill the silence that Maggie's laughter once left behind. As Clara sat at his kitchen table eating toast, her big green eyes followed him with a kind of unspoken trust. Over the next few hours, something unexpected began to happen. She started to talk, not much, but enough to tell him that she'd been staying in a big house near the hills with people in uniforms. She didn't know her last name, only that her mom worked far away, and that she was supposed to stay inside most of the time. She'd wandered out that morning when no one was looking. Aaron contacted the local authorities again, but no missing child report matched her description. Days passed, then a week, and somehow, Clara began to feel like a part of his life, a light flickering back into rooms he thought would stay dark forever. Each morning, she followed him into his garage, sitting on an overturned paint bucket while he worked. She'd hum to herself, sometimes making up silly songs about Armistead, oil hands, or the fixer man. Aaron laughed more in those days than he had in years. It wasn't long before the neighbors began to notice. The lonely mechanic who used to avoid everyone now had a little shadow with golden hair running after him. Still, deep down, Aaron knew it couldn't last. She belonged to someone. Somewhere, a mother was probably losing her mind looking for her little girl. And even though his heart had started to believe she was meant to fill that empty place Maggie once held, his conscience whispered otherwise. Then one sunny afternoon, everything changed. Aaron had just finished repairing a rusted-out truck when a sleek black car rolled up the gravel driveway, the kind of car that didn't belong in their small town. Out stepped a woman, tall, composed, dressed in a tailored ivory coat and heels that probably cost more than Aaron's entire wardrobe. Her presence seemed to draw the world's attention without her trying, but her eyes were the same shade of green as Clara's. "Are you Aaron Cole?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. He nodded cautiously. "Yeah, who's asking?" "I'm Evelyn Hart," she said, swallowing hard. "I believe you've found my daughter." For a moment, the world seemed to pause. Clara, who had been sitting on the porch steps coloring with chalk, looked up, and her eyes widened in shock. She didn't move, didn't run to her mother, just stared in frozen confusion. Aaron felt a lump rise in his throat as he watched the woman's composure crack. Tears welled in her eyes as she dropped to her knees and called out softly, "Clara, baby, it's Mommy." Clara didn't answer. She clutched her bunny tighter, uncertain. Evelyn's driver brought papers, police documents, DNA verification results, and custody proof. Everything was in order. Evelyn was indeed Clara's mother. She explained that Clara had gone missing 2 weeks earlier after escaping from her private estate during a nanny's neglectful moment. The household had been in chaos. Search parties, private investigators, and news alerts all had failed to find her. Until now. Aaron stood in silence, feeling something inside him collapse. He wanted to be happy, truly happy, that the little girl had been found. But all he could feel was the weight of loss creeping in again. Still, he forced a smile and knelt beside Clara. "Hey, kiddo," he said softly. "Your mom's here. You're safe now." Clara looked at him with those same trusting eyes that had once melted his grief. Then she turned slowly to Evelyn and whispered, "Is he coming with us?" The question hit both adults like a blade through the heart. Evelyn's lips trembled. "No, sweetheart. Hey, he can't." That night, the house felt unbearably empty. The faint scent of crayons and pancakes still lingered in the air, but the sound of small footsteps was gone. Aaron sat in the dark, staring at the little stuffed bunny Clara had accidentally left behind. He didn't sleep at all. 3 days later, a knock came at his door. It was Evelyn. This time, without the expensive car or the bodyguard, she looked different, tired, real human. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. Inside, she walked slowly around the living room, noticing the toys Clara had played with, the childish doodles pinned on the fridge. "You took care of her," she said softly. "She won't stop talking about you." Aaron shrugged. "She's a great kid. I'm just glad she's safe." Evelyn took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. "There's something I didn't tell you. Something you deserve to know." He frowned, unsure what to expect. Evelyn looked down, her voice breaking. "Clara's father isn't in the picture. He left before she was born. I built everything in my life to fill that hole, the company, the house, the money. But I never realized how empty it all felt until now. When she went missing, I thought I'd lost everything again. But when she came back, she told me about you. The man who made her laugh, who cooked pancakes and fixed her toys. She said you made her feel safe, like she was home." Aaron's throat tightened. Evelyn's eyes met his. "And there's more. I recognized your name. Years ago, I used to run a charity fund that helped struggling families. One of those families was yours. You applied for medical aid when your daughter was sick, but it was denied due to a system error. I saw the file later, too late. Aaron, I think about that every day." Silence filled the room. Aaron couldn't breathe. That one denied request, that letter of rejection, had cost him his daughter's life. The anger, grief, and shock tangled in his chest. But when he looked at Evelyn's trembling hands, he saw something else, remorse. Genuine, aching remorse. She continued softly, "I can't undo the past, but I want to do something right this time. Clara wants to see you again. She's been asking to visit. Please, would you?" Aaron looked at her for a long time. Then he nodded slowly. The next morning he drove to the Hart estate, a mansion of glass and gardens, standing like a palace over the valley. Clara ran down the marble steps before the car even stopped, her little arms wrapping tightly around his waist. "I missed you, Mr. Fixer-Man," she said, her voice muffled in his shirt. From that day, things began to change. Evelyn kept her promise. She offered Aaron a job managing the Foundation's new Second Chances program, providing hands-on help to families in crisis. No forms, no bureaucracy, just people helping people. And once a week, Clara spent the afternoon in his garage, painting flowers on broken car parts and calling it art therapy. As the months passed, the walls around all three of them began to crumble. Aaron found new purpose. Evelyn found humility, and Clara, sweet, brave Clara, found her family again, not just by blood but by choice. Life didn't become perfect, but it became honest. And sometimes, that's the most powerful kind of healing there is. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Every click helps spread real stories of hope, compassion, and redemption, and reminds the world that kindness still matters. Before you go, comment below. Do you believe that people deserve second chances? Your words might just inspire someone who needs to hear them today.